Hello, and welcome to the Sustainable Biomass Program Introduction online module. My name is Roman Polachenko. I am Assurance Manager at SBP, and I will be your trainer for this session. Besides assurance and accreditation role, my responsibility is also making sure that our training programs are updated and delivered efficiently. In this training session, we will provide you with the comprehensive understanding of the SBP scheme, nuts and bolts framework, its role in supporting sustainability in the biomass and energy sector, and the overview of the certification process. Please reserve enough time for studying SBP documents. That's very important because you will obviously learn a lot in this session, but there is so much more to learn, and you will need to reserve some time to actually open the standards, open potentially our annual reviews, visit our website, and so on. Let's first have a look at the structure of this module. First, we'll talk about sustainability in biomass and energy sector. We'll discuss the importance of sustainability in the biomass and energy sector, outlining the key benefits of using sustainable biomass for energy production and challenges addressed by our scheme. Then we will talk about SBP scheme in general. This section will provide an overview of the Sustainable Biomass Program as a scheme, its objectives and operations. Then we will move to SBP Framework. We will look a bit deeper into the structure of the SBP scheme, exploring the certification standards, guidance documents, and other relevant resources that support the effective implementation of the program. Then we will look at the certification process. Here we will in this training, we will walk you through the SBP certification process, including the steps involved in achieving and maintaining certification, as well as the roles and responsibilities of certification bodies and certificate holders. We'll then spend a little bit of time looking at our platforms. We will introduce you to the SBP Audit portal and data transfer system, which streamline the audit and reporting process, providing a user-friendly platform for data management, reporting, and communication. For that, we obviously have a separate comprehensive training module and user guides, but we will give you some basic introduction. Then we also have an option for tests and quizzes to complete this training. These are available to certification bodies and other relevant technical personnel. So certification bodies will have access to this training through the audit, through our training platform, where there is also integrated quizzes and exams, and this is important to pass the training and obtain the qualification. Please note that this is introductory module and it does not provide all the technical details. The technical details are provided in separate modules for each of the 6 standards. So besides this introduction, we have 6 more modules where we will go through the standards 1 to 6 and also related to instruction documents, guidance documents, and so on. So we will start with talking about sustainability in the biomass and energy sector very briefly. Let's spend a minute to look at some key benefits of sustainable biomass, emphasizing its role as an eco-friendly and efficient energy source. So first, let's talk about carbon and energy storage. The biomass, such as trees, acts as natural battery, using the sun's energy to bind CO2. When combusted in high-tech plants, the stored chemical energy within the biomass is released as heat energy, which can be harnessed for various purposes. Secondly, biomass can serve as a reliable source of base load power. Biomass plays a crucial role in complementing the intermittent nature of the renewable energy sources such as wind and solar power. By integrating biomass into the energy mix, it is possible to ensure a more stable and continuous supply of low carbon power for homes, businesses, and industries. Thirdly, sustainable biomass has a relatively small environmental footprint compared to traditional fossil fuels like coal or oil. Coal mining and oil drilling can cause significant damage to ecosystems, whereas biomass is a cleaner alternative when it is done sustainably, of course. The fourth, the biomass can be safely harvested, shipped, and used when proper care and safety procedures are followed. This ensures that transportation, storage, and usage of biomass is both secure and environmentally friendly. Fifth is the biomass is sustainable and renewable energy source. As long as the sun continues to shine, biomass will continue to grow, providing an endless supply of energy. Current estimates suggest that our sun will provide life-giving energy to our planet for about 5 billion more years. Surely biomass needs to comply with strict sustainability criteria to serve this purpose. And lastly, while combusting biomass does release some pollutants, the emissions are minimal compared to those from coal and other fossil fuels. This makes biomass cleaner and more eco-friendly option for energy production. In conclusion, sustainable biomass offers numerous benefits, including carbon and energy storage, a smaller environmental footprint, safe handling, renewable energy source, and reduced emissions. These advantages make biomass an attractive and viable alternative to traditional fossil fuels. So there is a common understanding that using sustainable biomass for energy is beneficial. What are some of the challenges in woody biomass industry which shall be solved? There are different criteria from different interest groups. Administrative burden to demonstrate the sustainable practices is quite high. There is lack of sufficient supply of certified materials such as FSC or PFC, or there is lack of compatibility of FSC and PFC certification. FSC and PFC certifications, they are also not covering forest carbon topics and not providing data transfer tools. So the question was how to approach this with a single tool. SBP has started with the regulatory compliance in accordance with 4 European countries' legislation, namely United Kingdom, Belgium, Netherlands, and Denmark. Each country and its regulators established a set of different legal requirements and incentive systems for the energy producers to use sustainable biomass and to collect required greenhouse gas data. Over time, SBP also adapted to get recognized by the European Commission for RED II, and we are working with the new markets such as Japan and potentially South Korea. Different requirements in different countries created another challenge in using the same supplier for different customers. For example, what could be considered as compliant in one country, let's say in Belgium, may not be compliant with the other country legislation, for example UK. Imagine the vessel is on its way to Europe and suddenly there is a need to change the destination and the customer to sell it to someone else. Original sustainability criteria may not be enough for the new market. Many of the biomass producers, such as wood pellet or wood chipper producers, could be facing multiple audits from each of their customers to check if the product they offer is compliant with the law of the destination country. That's why SBP success was possible due to the following. We use the market-driven approach. We provide license to trade to the regulated market. We use the benefits of FSC, PFC, and SFI certified material. There is a formal recognition by the regulators. The risk-based approach is applied rather than the burdensome land-level certification process. And we provide the ability to trade biomass between the EU member states and other regulated markets. SBP remains open to the new markets and regulations and constantly adapting to the changes. In the next chapter, we will look at the SBP organization. So who is SBP? As with most things in life, there is good and bad, right and wrong. Only sustainably sourced biomass is good biomass and the right way to contribute to achieving climate goals. SBP is not for-profit voluntary certification scheme designed for biomass used in energy production. Respected scientific advisory bodies and policymakers worldwide recognize biomass to energy as a renewable technology with significant role to play in reducing carbon emissions and meeting challenging climate goals. Through our credible and robust certification scheme, assuring responsible practice in feedstock sourcing, SBP is a promise of good biomass and is an integral part of the solution for tackling climate change. Our purpose is to facilitate the economically, environmentally, and socially responsible use of biomass, enabling climate goals to be met. We own a comprehensive system of credible feedstock requirements, greenhouse gas data communication, and modern data transfer system. SBP system can be used to ensure that the feedstock is sourced from legal and sustainable sources. Heat and power producers, so-called end users, use SBP certification to demonstrate compliance with national legality and sustainability requirements for woody biomass. Biomass producers and traders use SBP certification to comply with purchasing policies of end users. We also use the system of independent auditing, where we have an accreditation body and a number of certification bodies. On this slide, we can see some facts and figures from April to 2023. We have currently approximately 249, because this number obviously is changing all the time, active SBP certificates in 31 countries. SBP certified pellets consumed in 2022 accounted for 79% of OU states industrial pellet consumption. So like the share of the market covered by SBP certification is very significant. Latest data can be found in our annual review report and facts and figures. Both can be found on SBP website. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's a very good idea to reserve some additional time to actually visit our website and go through the annual review reports. They're well designed and very informative. As well, if you want to see up-to-date facts and figures, then you can also go to the website section and find it. It also provides an interactive map where you can locate biomass producers, other certified companies, where are they based, and if you point on them on the map, then you can also see their name and certificate code and so on. Since the beginning of 2019, SBP transformed its governance structure into a multi-stakeholder organization encompassing various groups: SBP Board, SBP Secretariat, Technical Committee, Standards Committee, and Stakeholder Advisory Group. Our governance arrangements bring together stakeholders groups representing civil society interests, biomass producer interests, and those of biomass end users. Collectively, the board members steer the future course of SBP through providing good governance and setting the overall strategy, direction, and budget. Decisions on standard setting are delegated to the Standards Committee. The Standards Committee makes decisions concerning certification scheme standard setting and provides views, advice, and recommendations on the operation of SBP to the board, other SBP committees, and SBP Secretariat. The role of the committees is, among other things, to provide advice to the board on SBP technical and scientific functions, including but not limited to SBP certification and accreditation criteria and methodologies. The role of the Stakeholder Advisory Group is to provide a platform for stakeholder input and advice to support the work of the SBP Standards Committee in the development, implementation, and maintenance of SBP standards and related documents, and other relevant activities towards furthering SBP development as a biomass certification system and making SBP an efficient and effective organization. The day-to-day running of the SBP scheme is carried out by the Secretariat. You can see on the slides the team is very small. It's a virtual team. We don't have an office. It's a rather virtual office arrangement. And in our Secretariat, we have Carsten Julius, CEO, Agita Nagle, office manager. Again, since we don't have actual office, it's a virtual office manager, technical director, Nicholas Viard, data manager analyst Lauri Kärmas, stakeholder engagement manager Antigone Kofi, and then under the technical director we have myself, assurance manager Roman Polechenko, and standards manager Laszlo Mate. Team is small, but at the same time it's very we are able to work as a small team very fast and efficiently. What is important to notice is the fact that Sustainable Biomass Program moved from being, in the past, several years ago, being a founding members organization. We moved towards a broad multi-stakeholder organization, inviting any biomass-related party to take part in the standards development. So we are very open to the stakeholders. SBP is keen to engage with all stakeholders and encourages interested parties to make contact and get involved in the work of SBP. We always respond to any requests, to any emails received by the Secretariat. So again, we are very open to any stakeholder engagement. In the next chapter, we will look at the SBP Normative Framework. This is a brief introduction. There will be further detailed modules for all 6 standards as I promised. So here we will just spend some minutes to go through some slides to get a very general overview of the framework, but to learn further, more detailed, you should go to the next modules. So SBP Normative Framework is divided into 4 categories, each comprising different standards, documents, and resources that contribute to the overall functioning and implementation of the Sustainable Biomass Program scheme. Category 1 documents. These are sustainability standards, which include Standard 1 and 2, and these standards focus on sustainability requirements and risk management for feedstock sourcing, ensuring legal and sustainable biomass production. Then Category 2 documents are for about certification and compliance. These consist of standards 3 to 6 and introduction documents for standards 1 and 2. This category covers the certification process, chain of custody, data transfer, and the collection and communication of data, ensuring organizations comply with SBP standards. Category 3 documents are supporting documents and different resources. These contain instruction documents for standard 3 to 6, regional risk assessments, normative interpretations, data transfer system and related documentation, process documents such as data delivery process and RRA procedure, benchmarking reports, various templates which are currently integrated in Audit portal, but still they are considered normative. So this category provides essential resources and tools for understanding, implementing, and complying with the SBP standards and certification processes. The category 4 is for guidance and user guides. This includes guidance documents and user guides for various aspects of SBP Normative Framework. These resources offer additional support and clarification to organizations, helping them navigate and effectively implement the SBP standards and requirements. In summary, the SBP Normative Framework is a comprehensive system that encompasses sustainability standards, certification processes, supporting documents, and guidance materials. This structured approach ensures a thorough and effective implementation of the Sustainable Biomass Program, promoting responsible sourcing and production of biomass. For more information about the categorization, you are recommended to review the document called Document Development Procedure, where we outline specific requirements and processes for development and revision of each of the category documents. So what is the purpose of SBP framework? Normally the feedstock from forest comes in the biomass producer's facility and being converted into biomass products such as wood and pellets or wood chips. What SBP certification allows is to actually declare such product with SBP claim to demonstrate that it's legal and sustainable. So this will not be possible without third-party certification. So in the middle we have like a main actor in certification, which is biomass producer, who source feedstock from various kind of feedstock type, various sources, and then produce biomass which it can then place on the market. Who needs to be audited and certified? This slide illustrates our set of standards altogether and tries to explain it. SBP chain of custody starts with the biomass producer, who needs to be checked against standards 1 and 2 to evaluate the sustainable origin. When standard 1 used, this means that the biomass producer implements a supply-based evaluation. We will learn from the further modules, especially modules for standard 1 and 2, in which cases supply-based evaluation is applicable and in which cases it's not. So the process comprises three elements, the process of supply-based evaluations. These are information gathering, risk assessment, and risk mitigation or risk management. Then the chain of custody includes traders for any party taking legal ownership over the biomass product before the energy producers, who are also known as end users. So we have traders here. They not always present. Sometimes the biomass producer can deliver biomass directly to the end user, but especially in case of overseas trade, traders are quite often participating in the supply chain. Standard 4 and 5, these are applicable to both biomass producers as well as traders and end users. These standards will learn about this in a second, that these are covering chain of custody and data communication. End users themselves can use standard 6 for certification of greenhouse gas emissions calculations. And also, let's not forget about standard 3, which includes the requirements for certification bodies. So the standard 3 regulates how certification bodies do the audit, under which conditions they can issue certificates, and this standard is also used by the accreditation body in accrediting certification bodies. To summarize, SBP standards 1 and 2 deal with the feedstock. In a model about standard 2, we will learn that some biomass producers may not need to use standard 1 and why. So I already mentioned that. Standard 3 is about certification process and is used by certification bodies. Standard 4 is traceability and chain of custody. Standard 5 is accuracy of the greenhouse gas data. And standard 6 deals with the greenhouse gas data calculation at the end of the supply chain by end users. But let's also not forget that we have a glossary of terms and definitions which explains key terms used in the standards. Standards are also complemented by instruction documents. Some instruction documents are shown here on this slide. We will review all of them in details in the next modules about each of the standards. Just quick look here, we have instruction document 1A under standard 1, which is SBP requirements for primary feedstock from trees outside the forest. So that provides additional requirements or specifies the requirements to the feedstock outside the forest. Process documents, they include appeals and complaints procedure, regional risk assessment procedure, as well as general document development procedure. A new document is framework for benchmarking and recognition of certification schemes. This document describes the SBP framework for benchmarking and recognition of external certification systems. I would say that for certificate holders, perhaps appeals procedure and complaints procedure are relevant documents to be aware of. Regional risk assessment procedure and document development procedure are probably less important because these documents regulate how SBP works as a scheme in developing regional risk assessments. And then framework for benchmarking, this document is again used by SBP in conducting benchmarking of different certification schemes, and again this is managed by the SBP itself and perhaps not that relevant for certificate holders. The biomass producer is responsible for conducting risk assessments, implementing mitigation measures, and assuring low-risk feedstock sourcing. Approved independent certification body verifies the evaluation and implementation of these measures. Regional risk assessment, abbreviation RRA, evaluates risks in a specific geographic region, ensuring consistency between biomass producers' assessments and promoting active stakeholder engagement. When RRA is present, the biomass producers are not allowed to develop their own individual risk assessments. We will cover this in the module about Standard 2 in more details. A new type of document worth mentioning here in introduction is the SBP endorsed benchmarking report. This document are the reports containing results from benchmarking of the FSC and PSC certification systems against the requirements set by SBP certification scheme. It also contains the assessment of the benchmarking results against the minimum requirements set by external certification systems recognized by SBP. So again, that's another topic which we will cover in module 2, and perhaps as this is something new coming to the version 2 of the SBP standards, then we are planning to go deeper as we gain more experience and as we publish those benchmarking reports. We will probably develop a separate module on this topic. Guidance documents. Standards 1, 2, and 4 are supported by guidance documents. It is very strongly recommended to use guidance documents alongside standards, both by certificate holders and certification bodies. Guidance documents for other free standards may be developed in the future. There are also user guides available for the Audit portal, platform, and DTS. This is a new thing, like the guidance documents for SBP standards 1, 2, and 4 have been introduced with the version 2 of the standards. Previously, with version 1, we didn't have guidance, which created certain challenges. Going forward, our objective and strategy is to work and introduce more guidance documents for different requirements, different processes. Normative interpretations list can also be found on our website. Currently, all interpretations are related to standards version 1. As standards version 2 starts to be used after 10th of August 2023 this year, they will be likely need to publish new interpretations. So we will create a new section on our website with normative interpretations for standards version 2. Some of the interpretations from standard version 1 were integrated into the standard version 2 itself. During the development of normative framework, SBP follows good practices established by ICO. These practices include scheme requirements and conformance requirements. You have the list of different rules, important topics which we had to follow during development of the process. As being ICO community member and striving towards the full ISO membership, we had to strictly consider ICO rules during the revision and development of the standards version 2. And to summarize, the key information about the SBP framework is that it is a comprehensive system covering all relevant technical areas. It follows good international practice in certification and standard setting. It is complementary to existing certifications such as FSC, PFC, or SFI. It is risk-based for non-certified feedstock, and it requires stakeholder input for the supply-based evaluation and the certification process. In the next chapter, we will give a very brief overview of the SBP certification process and actors involved. More details about the process, about certification, accreditation, we will be presenting in module about standard 3. So let's first look at the actors who participate in SBP certification process. These are the SBP Secretariat, who is coordinating and administering the process. SBP certification bodies, who do the evaluations of certificate holders, of applicants for conformance with the requirements. Then we have accreditation body ANAP, who issue accreditations and who provides oversight for the certification bodies. Then, of course, we have stakeholders. There are many different groups of stakeholders who participate in the public stakeholder consultations, and also then at any given time they can come to SBP and provide various input. And we have peer reviewers. So the peer reviewers, these are the independent technical experts who do review of the certification decisions when they involve supply-based evaluation. And of course, the key actors are applicants and certificate holders. So these are the ones who want to achieve SBP certification. At the moment of this recording this webinar, we have 4 certification bodies, which are Control Union, DNV Global, Preferred by Nature, and SCS Global Services. But as I said, more details about the certification process, the requirements for certification bodies, the work during the audits, initial assessment, reassessment is described in the module on Standard 3. There are 3 types of SBP certificate holders. It's worth spending a minute here to look at different scopes. There are also differences in certification steps for each of the scope. So first is the biomass producer with the supply-based evaluation. So these are the pellet mills or wood chippers who actually source the feedstock without or potentially with certification scheme claim, but they need to do usually it's a primary feedstock, they need to do the risk assessment or use official regional risk assessment. Then depending on the risk level, they may need to implement so-called risk management plan and implement risk management measures. So then second category or type of certificate is biomass producer without supply-based evaluation. This means that the company doesn't need to apply standard 1. They may be sourcing feedstock as processing residues with a recognized claim, FSC or PFC, or they may be sourcing post-consumer material, in which case certification at the origin is not necessary, and all you need to demonstrate is the material category is indeed post-consumer. We will learn about this when we go through standard module on Standard 2. And then third category of certificates is chain of custody. These are the traders or end users. So these entities, they receive biomass, not feedstock, already biomass, and they receive it with SBP compliant or SBP controlled claim. So they don't deal with the feedstock. All they need to do is to receive biomass with the claim, properly register it in their accounting, properly use DTS system. So it's significantly less complicated than other two. So let's look at differences in certification process depending on the technical scope. So scope 1 was biomass producer with the supply-based evaluation. So the process starts with signing the SBP trademark license agreement with SBP Secretariat. Then the biomass producer develops their own SBP system and engages the SBP stakeholders to establish supply-based evaluation and document it in the supply-based report. And lastly, the biomass producer gets audited by SBP certification body, accredited by accreditation body, who also evaluate the SBP stakeholder engagement and writes the public summary report. The public summary report is peer-reviewed in case of main assessment and reassessment. When there is a positive certification decision, the SBP certificate may be issued. At this stage, the company is entitled to use SBP claim and SBP data transfer system. Second scope is the biomass producer without supply-based evaluation. The process for such biomass producers is less complex. It starts with signing the SBP trademark license agreement with SBP Secretariat. Then the biomass producer develops their SBP system and prepares supply-based report. And then finally, biomass producer gets audited by the certification body, who writes the public summary report and issues, in case of positive decision, issues SBP certificate. Again, at this stage, the company is then entitled to use SBP claim and SBP DTS system. And the scope C biomass traders and end users who have only chain of custody system in their scope. So it starts with signing the SBP trademark license agreement. Then the trader gets audited by SBP certification body, and the certification body needs to still develop the public summary report and may issue the SBP certificate.
The most important information to remember about the SBP certification process, so let's summarize, is that the applicants are registered in the audit portal and their names are published on SBP website. Applicants need to sign TMLA. Certification occurs after the successfully passing the audit by the certification body. In case of some preconditions, non-conformances, this may need to be addressed before certificate can be issued. Stakeholders' engagement by certificate holder or applicant and the certification body are very important. Depending on the scope of the certificate, the level of engagement, of course, will be different. Traders may not need to spend as much time as the biomass producer, who has also the supply-based evaluation. Annual surveillance audits are required. These happen every year, and every 5 years there needs to be a recertification audit. Very important is that we also use oversight system where accreditation body, ANAP, they need to provide accreditation services to certification bodies and to control that they have systems continuously, they have systems in place to follow standard 3, to follow ISO 17065 requirements, and maybe other requirements related to RED 2. So basically the accreditation body issues the license to certification bodies to kind of certify companies and issue certifications. And the public, very kind of important element of our system is that there are a number of public reports, like supply-based report and public summary report. We will talk about these reports when we go through the standards 2 and 3. So these reports are developed in the audit portal and they are made available on our website. So everyone can, first of all, in the supply-based report can see what is the scope of the supply base evaluation, what is the supply base, what is the, if relevant, what is the risk management plan, how the stakeholder engagement has been organized. And then in the public summary report by the certification bodies, the stakeholders can see the description of the audit process, any observations, any findings, any non-conformances raised, the qualifications of auditors and the sampling applied, all these things. Finally, in this module, we will look at the SBP online platforms, which are audit portal and data transfer system. We will look at them very briefly because, as I said, there are separate modules, separate number of user guides to describe how these systems needs to be used. Here we will just present them briefly because they are extremely important and they differentiate SBP scheme from other schemes, having those online platforms for auditing and data transfer. Firstly, let's have a brief overview of the significant advancements in the Sustainable Biomass Program's audit and reporting process. This process has been fully digitalized in the audit portal since January 2021. The introduction of the audit portal has led to numerous benefits and improvements in the certification process. So let me list them and provide some explanations. So the audit portal replaces traditional PDF and Word templates with dynamic and user-friendly digital platform, ensuring an efficient and seamless experience for users. It automatically updates templates to the latest version, ensuring that users are always working with the most current and accurate information. It also enables the easy aggregation and reporting of data, allowing for improved quality control and monitoring of audit processes by SBP and by the certification bodies and accreditation bodies. It features intelligent workflows and validations, guiding users through the audit process and helping to prevent errors and inconsistencies. It may also send automated reminders to users about upcoming deadlines and tasks, ensuring timely completion of audits and reports. The portal streamlines the report review and approval process by integrating it directly to the platform, saving time and effort for all parties involved. It also includes built-in data and form validations, ensuring the accuracy and completeness of submitted reports. The audit portal features a built-in external peer review process, previously done separately and more or less through the email exchange. This promotes transparency and accountability in the certification process. By utilizing the portal, organizations can expect enhanced data quality and integrity resulting from platform's numerous features and validations. The portal also automates the report publishing process, ensuring that approved reports are promptly and accurately shared with the relevant stakeholders. We also integrated the portal with the DocuSign, enabling secure and efficient electronic signing of documents within the platform. And finally, the portal provides users with customized data dashboards displaying relevant information such as overdue audits and pending reports. In conclusion, the digitalization of the portal, digitalization of the SBP audit report and supply-based reports with this system has significantly improved the efficiency, accuracy, and transparency of the certification process. By leveraging the advancements, organizations can ensure a more streamlined and effective approach to sustainable biomass certification. The audit portal is our know-how, and this is our state-of-art technical platform, which we also continue to improve and update on a regular basis. Secondly, here in this introduction, I would like to briefly present you the data transfer system. So SBP DTS allows SBP claims to be transmitted along the supply chain. It was firstly introduced already back in October 2016 and updated the year after, and there were multiple updates since then. So one of the latest updates we made recently was the digitalization of the so-called SAR report. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. We will cover all these different platforms reports in further modules. The SAR report will be covered in module number 5. What is important to notice is that DTS entries are verified by the certification bodies during the audit, and the rule is that any product declared with SBP claim must have a corresponding registration in the DTS. So the DTS is a focal point and brings us substantial benefits to SBP scheme system by minimizing the risk of fraud. So the claim is only valid when it's registered and transferred in the DTS. It enables data report. It simplifies the communication between the buyer and the seller. It increases audit efficiency and credibility, and it is also providing a modern and flexible tool. The more details will be provided in a series of separate dedicated webinars about Audit Portal and DTS. We have a number of modules already recorded. Some of the modules are going to be regularly reviewed, and of course, as I mentioned before, there is also a number of user guides for each of the tools. This is kind of system which you really need to use. You need to log into the system, and basically, besides just reading user guide or watching this brief introduction, you actually need to take it into your hands and try it out. We reached the end of the SBP introduction module. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, you can always contact SBP Secretariat or me directly. Now you can continue with more detailed training modules on 6 SBP standard. If you are an auditor or accreditation body and you are watching this through the training platform, then don't forget to take the quiz before continuing with the next module.